There's nothing more fun than summoning Mr. Thunder Dragon Colossus against the brand new Blue Eyes support. So that's what we're doing today, a throwback to the Thunders, a deck that normally I wouldn't be a fan of because this guy isn't too nice to my Drytrons, but he does obliterate the Blue Eyes. So without further ado, let's check out this fun anti-Blue Eyes Thunder Dragon list. Yo guys, this deck is a darn good time. It is super duper power crept and probably not even the best banish style deck that you could be playing in the current format. There is a tier 1 one that is a little bit problematic, but I think this deck is extremely fun to play, and I also think it's a unique counter to the Blue Eyes strategy. If you want to do something completely different, and honestly pretty cheap deck, not gonna lie, all things considered. Blue Eyes is cheap too, but if you want to put in a little bit of effort on finding some of these old classic cards and have a good time playing it, give it a shot. I've just been goofing around with it, and I'm having so much fun just playing this deck because it really feels different. It's a throwback to a former play style, and it's something that I don't feel like a lot of the decks that the current meta is playing feels like when you're summoning out a Colossus. It's a very unique type of boss monster. So, without further ado, let's hop into the profile. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section down below what other classic decks you want to throw it back to. Honestly, this is the waiting room for the Orcus support. Cannot wait to see it because I think that is going to be the best deck of the format as soon as it comes out. Without further ado, let's get into Thunder. Alright, starting off with the main deck monsters, you got triple copies of the Dark. This is the one that when it's banished or sent from field to grave, it summons from deck, which is pretty insane. More oftentimes than not, you're going to be summoning out the next guy, which is Mr. Thunder Dragon Dark. This one, when it's sent from field to grave or banished, searches any Thunder Dragon card. Also, I should mention on discard, this one can search itself, and this one can add back a banished or engrave Thunder card. So, of course, they both have different ways of triggering the effects. Sometimes, in certain situations, you're going to have to use one of these guys' hand effects, but they're usually not the ones you want to use on turn 0. The best one that you want to use on turn 0 is triple of the Thunder Dragon Hawk. Again, I got to give shout out CJ for all these German guys because I love this core. I love this deck. I think it's so much fun to play. This is the best name to resolve out of all the Thunder Dragon monsters in your hand to guarantee you got the ability to make Colossuses. It's the easiest one to do it with, and spoiler alert, we're not playing the OG Thunder Dragon, so we are at a slight loss for activating the effects in hand compared to other older Thunder Dragon lists that actually play the original Thunder Dragon. So this one is the main means of activating it, but sometimes you're going to have to use Dark in hand, or you're going to have to use the Thunder Dragon Roar. Just is what it is. But I am playing 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Matrix because it's a level 1, which is good for getting into anima. It also is another one that floats into another copy of itself and can make Titan live on the opponent's turn. Do still play Titan, even though it's kind of a mid-boss monster. Think about Titan compared to Detonator. It's not even a contest. Detonator is insane, broken, modern card, and Titan is so easy to out by comparison and is far worse in terms of the amount of interruptions you get for such a giant dude. All that being said, we still want to make them live from time to time, so having the Dragon Matrix that can float into itself and give you an effect to activate is pretty good. Next, we've got the core guys, triple copies of the Battery Man Solar. This is your Foolish Burial for any Thunder, any summons tokens. So you can swarm the field, and that can be pretty good for playing through boards. We got a lot of options in the extra deck for doing so, but Battery Man Solar is probably the best normal summon that the deck has access to, and then I do play the 1 copy of the Aloof Lupine. I think there was another gentleman whose profile I saw who was doing this ratio as well. This card's kind of mid, though. I'll just be 100% honest in saying these are the cards that, the only cards that getting hit with Valor actually does something, and sometimes your hand relies on it and then that sucks. There's a lot of other times where hand traps like Valor do nothing against this deck, especially it does nothing against Colossus. So that's why I feel like this deck is not only because it cuts off all the searching, but it's pretty good into the Blue Eyes matchup because when they drop those Valors on you, they only have these 4 targets. And another thing I forgot to mention, Matrix is a pretty good normal summon. Like if you use the effect of any of your guys in hand and then you have this just to normal summon it out, you automatically get a Colossus. So what the best thing that this deck can do is put up Colossus as fast as possible. So this one's pretty good for it too, because even if this gets stopped, you can still discard a card at some point, activate a Thunder effect in hand, whatever it may be, and then turn this into a Colossus, so it's not a big deal. Aloof, you can't do that. It's a beast, so it kind of sucks. You got to link it off. But it is decent because it banishes for cost, so if you have 1 to trigger in your hand, it's pretty decent. One other thing, it's a Dark for Allure. Sometimes that comes up. You don't like it when it comes up, but sometimes it does. Next, since I'm not playing any of the original Thunder Dragon, I thought that Nemesis Corridor was an okay way to replace it because it's almost a guaranteed activating a Thunder Monster effect in hand, just like Hawk. This one, you're more oftentimes than not going to be able to use if you have it. The only thing that sucks is this one can clog. That's why I'm only playing one of it right now, and I'm trying to keep the deck at 40 cards. But I feel as though I wish I had room for one more, because this one is crazy. As soon as you're able to resolve one of those effects in hand, you have the ability to turn Thunders into Colossus, and that's really what you want to do. The earlier you can do that, the better. The option to have one of those that you hold in hand in case you get hit with something like a Nibiru, that feels fantastic, because then you can make it so the nib didn't even matter. Honestly, Nemesis Corridor is phenomenal, but I only feel like I have room for the one. If you guys think there's a slot we should cut to put in more copies of this card, maybe the Aloof is it, but Aloof banishes, so I don't know. Either way, let me know what you think, but I think this card's insane, and I choose to play, especially because we're not playing the OG Thunder Dragon. All right, getting into the sub-engines, Black Dragon, White Dragon. These guys, honorary bestials, low-key. The OG bestials, even though they only banish from your own graveyard, they float into one another and you can add them all chaos space. It's crazy. And it gives you free spheres. That's pretty much it. It gives you free link line material or free spheres on turn 0. More dragons. The one Magnum Mutt. This card should get banned. 2 copies of the Druis Worm. I think this card should go to 1 at best. Maybe even go even lower. They could ban this one too. Ban them both, honestly, while you're at it. Why not? Hey, can you tell I'm a little biased? Then we got 1 copy of Baldrake. Baldrake, I actually love this card in this deck. This is another form of interruption. You're almost always going to have it be live. Maybe it's a little slow for some people's taste, but these are the 4 main decked hard bestial names that I choose to play. I used to play Saronir. You don't really need it. I think it's actually, this is the correct number of names to have, is 4 of the normal ones. And then I also play the 1 copy of Lubellion. We also got 1 Chaos Dragon Levianeer and the Chaos Emperor Dragon, the Pendulum Monster, the one that used to be a prize card. This card is awesome in this deck. You can add back dragons, it can trigger your names that are in the graveyard to summon itself, and then it has a crazy board send effect. It does cost you a lot of life points, but frankly, it can be completely worth it when you're fighting through a board. It's a good option to have. Both of these guys are really good for that. And that does it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells. Best spell in the deck undoubtedly is the Allure of Darkness. Play all 3. You banish your best names, which are Dark and Roar, from hand. It'll trigger their effects to summon from the deck or search. Absolutely broken. 2-card combo deck. Kind of sucks that we're so reliant on it like that. Maybe Malice does it better, but who cares? We're doing it cooler. Next best spell in the deck, Gold Sarcophagus. This is at 1 for a reason. We use it the same way that Malice does to trigger one of our names in the banished and then get the free summon or the search from it. You're using it for immediate gratification. The next best spell card in the deck is Branded Regained, and this is the one that you can set off of Lubellion or set up with Lubellion. Broken. This card's insane. You are always triggering the effect to draw. You're always going to have the ability to summon back a Magnum Mutt on the opponent's turn. It just guarantees so much follow-up and advantage in a deck that desperately needs it. So phenomenal, phenomenal card. No need to play the Branded Trap card, though. We don't have enough dragons for that, just being honest. Next, we got Chaos Space, search out the Black and White Dragon. Also can search out Lubellion. There's a lot of cool cards you can search out. Then I've got Honorary Chaos Space, the sub copy, which is the Melody of the Awakening Drag. Next, 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion. This is a Thunder Dragon heavy deck, so of course we're going to play the OG Fusion. Now, here's the deal. Since we're not playing the plain old Thunder Dragon, this is where this card kind of sucks. You can't summon Colossus with it. It's only going to be Titan. So there will be situations where you're putting up your board and you're holding an option in hand for follow-up in case you get hit with something like a Nibiru. This might be one of them. In this build, it's only going to be putting up a Titan for you. So you got to think about it like that. How am I going to have additional interruptions through my opponent's interrupt if it is something like a Nibiru? If I'm holding Thunder Dragon Fusion, I want to make sure I have a Dark in my hand, or I want to make sure I have a Matrix in hand, so I'm able to use it as an interrupt on the opponent's turn. Next, we got Board Breakers. Not doing hand traps in the main for this one. Doing kind of Drytron logic on this bad boy. So we got triple copies of Forbidden Droplet. Doesn't do it as well as Drytron does, but it does it pretty darn well because you stick the names in the grave, banish them with bestials, and that's pretty advantageous. Then we got 2 copies of Talent Good going first or second. 1 copy of Thrust. This is the primary search target for it, but it also bridges into engine pieces like Allure or Gold Sark. If you need them, you can get them. And then Sacked by the Grave, the card that's always glued to my hand. Broken. They need to bring it up to 2 so it feels less sacky. That's it for the main. Moving on into the extra deck. This is where we have a lot of fun. I want to shout out my boy Sunny P too. He did a Thunder profile not too long ago. It was a very different build, but it was super duper cool. You guys got a bigger budget, go check that one out. It's super dope. Or if you just have the Fiendsmith cards, check it out. It's super dope. But this build is more mono Thunder Dragon, and it can still do it. It's pretty consistent. It's just, at the end of the day, it's a 2-card combo deck, and when you have the Fiendsmith cards, you got 1-card combo options, so that's automatically a little bit bigger, a little bit better. If you wanted to play with the Fiendsmith cards, check out Sonny's list, and he'll put you in the right direction and give you those 1-card combos that you want to see. But hey, we're Drytron players, we're used to 2-card combos, so playing this deck is completely acceptable. All that being said, the big bad boy boss monster, when you activate the effect of a Thunder Monster in hand, you can sack one on the field to summon out Mr. Colossus, stops the opponent from searching, and is able to banish Thunders from grave to protect himself from destruction by battle or card effects. So he's broken. Very powerful boss monster. We play all 3 of them because he's finally at 3. He got walked off. I used to not like this guy. I was not a fan of this card because obviously I was a Drytron player. I remember when we first started playing Drytron on Master Duel, Colossus was legal on there. People would summon him against me and I'd be tilted. I'd be like, oh my god, I got matched up against the Thunders. Dang it. Because it's such a powerful boss monster. And we summon it better than anybody else because this is a Thunder deck. Speaking of being a Thunder deck, that means we can also play copies of Titan. 2 might be a little excessive. I have it in here so we can summon off Thunder Dragon Fusion, and if we needed to, use its own effect to summon as well. Sometimes that is going to be how you trigger your names in hand, a Dark or a Roar. If you're able to somehow set up a Colossus on the field, but want to trigger a Dark or a Roar in hand, you can banish the Colossus and that name in your hand, and then summon out Titan per its summoning condition, and that's going to trigger off your search or your summon. Links, we got the 1 copy of Anima, goes with the little Matrix guy. 1 copy of the Striker Dragon, this goes with the Black Dragon and the White Dragon. 1 copy of the Heretic Seals, this is one of the most insane dragon cards. Trust me, if you're playing against a lot of Blue Eyes right now like I am, you know full well how powerful Spheres is as a card, and we can use it as well. Not as well as Blue Eyes can, but we can still stick it up there. In the hands you see the Black Dragon, the White Dragon, or you're seeing Bestials, or any of your other good dragon targets, that might be a turn where you're summoning out the Spheres. So you want to have the option. 1 IP, 1 SP, mandatory cards. You'll end on this a lot. This plus double Colossus is a pretty standard end board. And then obviously the SP to summon off of it. You can sometimes theoretically use the SP to start plays if you can banish one of your own names, just FYI. 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix for popping out the back rows, popping out that Blue Eyes trap card, wipe their board type deal. Yeah, you gotta have something to pop it. Feels pretty good to play this card. Saryuja Skull Dread, this one's kind of goofy. You don't need to play this. It is a dragon that after you flood the board with monsters, which like an opening hand that would do this, the 2-card combo that would do this is normal summon Batteryman Solar and use a Bestial effect in hand. That would theoretically get you into Saryuja, and resolving a Thunder Dragon Dark to get you a Hawk that you could use to summon and set up a Colossus no matter what. So you get the draw 4, that can draw you theoretically into another dragon or something else to extend even further. So you can make your Spheres afterwards with it, or you could just use the Hawk and then special summon any other Thunder name from your hand, sack them both to make 2 more Colossuses. So the usual end board with this would probably include at least 2 Colossuses, and maybe this would be turned into a Spheres. It's a cool card, it digs you deeper into the deck, and it's also cool when you're digging for side deck cards in games 2 and 3. Final card, Access Code Talker, Access Code Smack Talker. You can make him the biggest if you're going to summon him with Saryuja. It's hard to flood the field with that many monsters. More oftentimes than not, you're going to make this. You're going to line up a Dark with either Anima or Striker, and a Fire with a Nightmare Phoenix usually, and that's how you get extra pops out of this guy. And then he's usually a 4K attack. But it doesn't matter too much because your monsters, your boss monsters are massive. 1 Chaos Angel, yo, I gotta shout out my boy Chris for this one. This card is insane. Make it with a Bestial and Batteryman Solar, or one of your black and white dragons. Simple enough. In the last slot, Mr. Boss Monster Typhon, or I guess the Boss Eliminator. If you're losing, maybe he can give you a chance to win. It's been done to me before. Honestly, I'm quite impressed when I get smacked up by a Typhon. And frankly, it's because I forget this card exists sometimes. And then it comes out against me, and I'm like, oh, darn it, how could I forget about this guy? That's when he's the most powerful, when you forget he's there. That's everything for the extra. Let's slide into the side. I usually don't side deck Ash, but I wanted something generic that I could side in for a wide variety of matchups, so I went with it. Then we've got our Pro Banishing card in the form of triple Shifter. Shifter's insane, plus Batteryman Solar. That is a broken combo. We don't main it because Malice exists, so we side it. 3 copies of the anti-banish card being Lancia. That's for Malice. Speaking of Malice, we also got 2 copies of Phantasme. I'm a broke boy, so I don't have the Fuos, but if I did, it would probably be in the side deck here too. I'm going to be honest. I'd probably replace these with the Fuos. Another thing I want to kind of squeeze in here perhaps is the Nibiru, but I don't have room for that at the moment either. This would be the first card to go, though. It'd either be for Fuos or for Nibiru. All right, rounding out the side, I got 1 copy of the Heartbeast Feather Duster for those back row matchups. Don't forget we do have a Thrust in main deck, so it makes it a little bit easier to see this card. And finally, triple copies of Solemn Judgment, because what does this deck hard lose to? That is the Dark Ruler No More and the Forbidden Droplet. So, of course, we side in and out to those cards. YuGiOh does this as well. Any build-the-board deck that gets obliterated by one particular blowout, why not give yourself a chance at resiliency to play through it? Give yourself the Solemn Judgment and try drawing into it off Sarah Yuge. That feels pretty good on a turn 0. But just some super quick closing thoughts. Again, I've top locals twice now with this deck. This is the most recent iteration of it, and I absolutely love to play it. I love this right now because it is the anti-Blue Eyes deck. Why do I say that? So many cards in the Blue Eyes main deck search. That's what makes it so crazy consistent, is the fact that this card gets this card, that gets this one, and then before you know it, you're staring down at the very least the materials to make 2 Spirit Dragons, or a rank 8, or a bunch of big Blue Eyes, or even a fusion guy, who knows. Point is, they really can't do it with Mr. Colossus on field. If you set up a Colossus plus an SP play, you are going to win against the Blue Eyes deck. It's that simple. You can use your SP Banish to get the True Light off the field, and once that's out of play, there's nothing they're going to be able to do because everything in their deck relies on searching, whether it be normal summon. If you can keep them off of the Spirit Dragon and the Mausoleum, you can stop them from even getting a tuner properly into rotation, and then they're not going to have any way to dump Blue Eyes into the graveyard. Having Colossus on field just makes the Link 1 absolutely useless. And like I said earlier, there are only a few spots where the Veiler explicitly hurts. They much rather have something like an Imburn, but of course the Veiler is searchable for their deck. Honestly, we can bait it out easy with an Aloof or with the normal summon Battery Man. But when you're resolving a Banished Thunder Monster's effect, those Veilers really aren't doing much. Alright guys, I've been droning on long enough. I love this deck. I think it is the anti-Blue Eyes Dragon deck. Give it a shot. Have some fun. Let me know how it works for you. And that's all I've got. Logan JYA signing off. Have a great day. I'll play this deck live on the stream, either virtually or in person if you guys are down to see it. Have a great day. Peace.